welcome to the Tech of Fame podcast. I am your host, Kylie Montini. Today, we are thrilled to have the incredibly talented Katie Chonacas joining us. With over 2 decades in the Hollywood entertainment industry, Katie has established herself as a globally recognized Greek American actress, model, poet, producer, painter, and philanthropist. Her journey began at a young age when her natural beauty and classical training quickly propelled her into the spotlight. Katie's modeling career flourished as she worked with prominent companies, eventually leading her to relocate to Los Angeles and discover a true passion for acting. She made her television debut on a hit show like CBS's CSI New York, Cold Case, FX's Network's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Law Order SVU, which is one of my personal favorite shows. But Katie's film credits include Jessica Simpson's major movie star, The Cold with Morgan Freeman and Antonia Banderas, and a memorial scene with Nicolas Cage and the Werner's Herzog's Bad Lieutenant, Port of Cali Banderas. In film, Katie pursued a love of music, landing a deal with hip hop superstars like 50 Cent and G Unit. She toured eventually with them throughout Europe and South Africa and starred in popular music videos like Pink's Who Knew, Hilary Duff's Stranger, and the Chemical Brothers' The Golden Path. We're so grateful to have Katie sharing her story with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, on today's episode and taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, Kylie, for having me. And thank you so much for the person tuning in. We're going to make it an impactful episode. Let's go.
For sure. We have some amazing questions lined up. We're definitely going to do this for a part two episode at some point, another part two at one point. But of course, you were in the entertainment industry since you were a child, which is crazy. But what inspired you to pursue a career in the entertainment industry at such a young age? Which, of course, entertainment industry is such a hard place to get in at such a young age.
Yeah, I just think it was always in my innate nature. I'm Greek and I grew up my family came over from the old country on my dad's side from Greece, and my parents were middle class workers, working 9 to 5. We went to school with like brown paper lunch bags, and I ran cross country, and then we had a lot of like independent alone time, and I found myself just like studying like Socrates and Greek mythology and Maya Angelou and Mark Twain, and just I became a wordsmith and loving language and the meaning of sounds and words and quotes and vibrations. And I started it like as a poet, and I just loved the fantasies and the word plays of the magical world. And I was creating the possibilities through Mark Twain of like what the world could be like. And also just, Detroit used to be the #1 murder capital in the world, and I wouldn't watch TV, but I'm an empath, and I didn't know the word of empath, and I was a HSP, highly sensitive person. I didn't know how sensitive I was, but I just knew like it was like fragile, and I knew like I had this igniting flame within me. And it's a part of your destiny, I believe. But my birthday's 11/11. I just feel like, we have our past, and I chose to listen to my calling. And that was to make people laugh and to entertain people. And I like Robin Williams, they say the best stand-up comedians are the ones who felt the most pain and they've dealt with the most stuff, but they go on the stage and they make people laugh because they know what it's like, and they want everyone else to laugh. So I think I've always liked comedy. I've always liked entertaining people. So I've always followed that excitement to like lead me into entertainment.
I love that you use Robin Williams as an example because Robin Williams is one of the most recognized, maybe the most famous comedian ever that has ever came in entertainment comedy. And it turns out throughout his life he was suppressed. Like he was going through a lot of things, but he still went up on stage to do comedy things and was an actor full time, and also made an impact on a bunch of people, which is crazy. But I know, well, a lot of people growing up, a lot of people knew immediately that they wanted to be an actor or a singer. Like a lot of people just knew in a way, you know? Like it's just
Yeah.
crazy to see how
And
much people recognize it very
Yeah,
quickly.
and also like that's why you can't judge a book by its cover, because his blue glistening eyes, you always thought he had that sparkle of an ocean, that he was just so angelic, but you don't know what's going on in people's minds and in their hearts. So we can't judge a book by its cover because like no one knew, like most people didn't know, unless it was like his wife or close family members. ours, but then we cover up those things, it's not normalized to talk about those kind of things. And, so it's super important to honor, comedians and people and praise them in such a way, but also they're human beings like us and we don't know what they're really growing through.
Yeah, like, and plus with Robin Williams, like, he grew up at, like, a different time than
Yeah.
me and you did, like, it was a different era that you grew up with, and with that time, like, a lot of people didn't talk about their feelings, like, as such a subject that me and you are gonna talk about in a bit, but it's something that he grew up probably not having to, like, grew up in a era where they didn't really talk about it, Like mental health wasn't such a big thing when he grew up. So it's like it wasn't such a big topic. But when he passed away a few years ago, the whole world went silent, thinking like this guy that made an impact on television and comedy that everyone absolutely loved and adored passed away, thinking like we're not gonna hear comedy things or make us laugh ever again. But we do not know what a person's going through, even though they might have the blue eyes that people will basically fall in love with them for it.
Yeah, it was so just unexpected.
It really was. Like he died by suicide, right?
Yeah.
That which is crazy. I thought it was, but I keep forgetting how he died from, but which is terrible because no one has to go through that mental health things, which is
Yeah.
something I'm going to bring up in just a second.
Yeah.
But it's really horrifying to actually have people really have to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
But me and you were talking about before we started recording, we of course it's Mental Health Awareness Month, which is one of the most important things to a lot of people. But tell us how you're celebrating this month.
Yeah, so I haven't curated something in over a year. I actually took all of 2023 off just to dismantle everything I was doing from my little girl dreams up until now because I hit a wall for the very first time in 2022 in December of burnt out. And I've heard about burnout, but like I never ever, I have all this energy. I never experienced it like how I did. And so I dismantled and I said, like, I'm focusing on two things. One, my health, my physical health, my mental well-being, like what is going on, taking time out just to like get myself straight and then find a partner who I may want to spend like the rest of the time here I have my on my planet. So on this planet. So those are my two focuses. And I didn't know how long it was going to be, but it ended up being a year. And then and that was all 2023. And then I woke up 11 days before Mental Health Awareness Month, May 1st, in April, 11 days, and I woke up and I had this epiphany. I haven't curated something in over a month. And during the pandemic, 2020 till now, 4 years, I curated a catalog of all this music, like all these like EDM music beats. And they're psychologically like hoarding inside of me, and I want to make new art, but they're like ruminating, but they're in my like laptop and on my hard drive. So I'm like, I just want to get them all out. So I've tried to get music deals, licensing deals with connections I have. And even if you know the people, like they're still not supporting and helping you in certain ways. And it's very frustrating. So I'm like, I'm just gonna like Creative Commons, CC0, just give them to the community on the blockchain with Web3, with the artist community, and lead by example and just put out 31 tracks for 31 days, all of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I asked artists in the community, a small group, since I did it in such short notice, to put my artwork as the cover art, and then artists in the community to have their artwork as the cover artwork. And we're sharing the messages in each title, something different. Schizoaffective, autism on the spectrum, Asperger's on the spectrum, behavioral problems with children, ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, borderline personality disorder. So like all suicide, like the suicide for teens, there's an age. It's the number way of people like, with mental health issues like comes out within 30 seconds, and then I put it in the description. So like when people come across this, or they've come across people and they're confused and they don't know, because I was confused and I didn't know until I started looking up these neuroscientists and these doctors who specialized in narcissism and gaslighting and love bombing. And I didn't know about those things. So now I know about them. So now I want to pay it forward by being the ripple effect with other artists in the community to put these topics in the description. So if you see it today, cool. If someone sees it 10 years from now, or, we can just share this information for free with one another, doing it through art and music. So I'm really proud. It's all on the blockchain. I am going to release it in Web 2, which is like on the social media apps, Spotify, Apple, and I'll release it in a 2-part series, kind of like Taylor Swift. She did
Mhm.
31 tracks, her anthology, her poetry anthology. So I'm releasing 31 tracks as well. I love Taylor. And I'm going to release like just 31 tracks, and it'll be on Spotify. It's under my artist name, which is Saint Kyriaki, Saint, and then Kyriaki. So people can listen to it on Web 2 for free if they have the social media platforms. But if they're in blockchain technology, they also can collect it and put it in their wallets for free as well.
That's really awesome. And to go back with having a year off, so you just wrapped it up a couple weeks ago, right? Or was it a different time?
Well, I hit a wall in December 2020, December 2022, and then going in at the end of December, I'm like, come January, like I'm retiring. I didn't tell anyone, and like in May of 2023, I like told my dad. He was talking to a friend on the phone. I'm like, yeah, I've retired. I completely retired. I psychologically retired from my little girl dreams. I psychologically retired the things that were my little girl dreams. It was before YouTube. It was before the social media. It was, before a lot of things. And those were goals and anchors to get me to where I was. But then I was these like hooks that were getting me to where I wanted to go. These anchors ended up kind of visually, kind of like going into my skin and started ripping it and creating like blood, not for real, but they were hindering me and holding me back. So I had to dismantle the tools that worked for me when I was a kid, because with evolution technology and with my friendships and community and with my morals and my values and things changing and my desires and my beliefs, understanding materialism, understanding my own ethics, understanding my own values and what kind of life I want to curate, with how things are in society in 2024, we have to let things go. And not only physically let things go, psychologically let things go, our old scripts, our old beliefs. Like you have a script, you have a sentence, you have a belief that you learned from your grandma or from something that you read or from your parents. And it's like, thank you, I love you, it got me to this point. I'm a sovereign being, I'm good now, I will hold those near and dear to my heart. But then I get to make up new scripts and new values and new choices that I want to do for my life and for my future family and for my community
Mhm.
and for the people I love. Because, we have to pass the baton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really do, because I wish I could say I could rather say retired, even though I'm 17. I wish I can say how I can just go retire at this point. Even if it's for a couple months, I just ready to just sweep. But even having that break to take the time for yourself and kind of push back to realize like, okay, what do I want? Because of course life really get doesn't it goes by so fast to the point where like we can't just sit back and just take a breather because we're so busy at life and we just don't realize that we need to take in everything at the moment and make sure we take time for ourselves rather than working so much and care of our kids or whatever it is, because sometimes we get wrapped up in that to the point where we're depressed and we don't know what to do for ourselves.
Yeah, two things. Jim Carrey says it best. I saw it in a quote a couple years. Depress means deep rest. It's your body saying you need to rest, and you don't want to wear the public persona that you're running for, that you're trying to keep up for this egotistical image of something external that you want to like keep going. And it's this mask. So you need depress is deep rest. That's what he says. Two, like if you watch Paris Hilton's documentary, that would give it to you in a nutshell. We're a lot alike in a lot of ways, but she had like to prove something and she wanted to be like this multi-gazillionaire and like do everything she did because of, her own stuff growing up.
Mhm.
But I am very extreme. So I had like all these goals, of like lawyers and doctors. And this is before free podcasts and neuroscientists and being connected with the community of like lawyers and doctors and people I connected myself with. Like, you don't need to marry a lawyer or a doctor or someone with multi billions of dollars to have the number one health and wealth, because anything could happen even if you have that much money. So,
Mhm.
when I was younger, I had these like illusions of how things were going to keep me safe and protected. But through that journey, I befriended some people. And also through that journey, it's like Okay, that's what I was doing, but look where I am. I don't have billions of dollars. I didn't marry a multi-billionaire. I don't have millions of dollars in my account, but the
Mhm,
universe provides. I have my health, which is the number one wealth. I'm not taking any of those materialistic things when I leave this planet. What really matters, right? What's the
mhm.
value? Like the food, what we put into our body, who we listen to, what we share. I mean, with Alzheimer's at the all-time high right now, and they still don't have a cure for Alzheimer's, are we even taking our memories with us? Like, you know what I mean? Like they say, oh, we only have our memories, but are we even taking our memories? Our brain's a tool and it needs oxygen. But I was thinking and reflecting, what are we taking? This, a transfer of energy like Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So
Mhm.
maybe if like 80 years from now we have Alzheimer's, or the people have Alzheimer's, and they're still with animals and they still have a lot of love in their system, maybe they feel things, they just can't express it like a baby. But we have our sensorial being of how we feel, and that comes before our brain of how we think.
Exactly. Like with having a meaning, people say like even if we don't have those people in our life anymore, like we're always going to remember what people say to us and what were you doing in that exact moment. Like I can tell you on top of my head, I'm not gonna say it now, but I'm saying like it's just I may not be friends with this maybe specific person anymore, but I can tell you what they did to hurt me. What were we talking about, or where were we during that moment? Like
Yeah.
it's very easy how much a words can really hurt a person, even if you have Alzheimer's or not. Like there's so many things we need to hear, like Alzheimer's, for example. Like Alzheimer's has kind of progressed over time. Like we kind of started to get familiar with it rather than like 20, 30 years ago. But it's like we're always going to remember what this person did to us, no matter the situation or time we are in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful we had this conversation because for my mental health awareness month, the 31 days, I'm going to put Alzheimer's as one of the titles.
Oh, I love it. That's such a great idea. Like personally, I never had someone with Alzheimer's in my family, so I do not know what's like. I honestly feel for people that honestly have dealt with it or are family members of it because it takes a village. Like I have a friend of mine that is basically a caregiver for her grandmother, and she's a mental health advocate and it has an organization and stuff, which she's amazing. And basically, she's taking care of her grandma that has Alzheimer's, and I'm just
Yeah.
like I just can't imagine how hard it is to take care of someone, like your family or your grandmother that you love so deeply to have to go through that sometimes they won't even remember who you are, which I personally I would absolutely lose my mind if I were that person. Like I could
Yeah.
not take it at all. So I honestly feel for all those people that have to go through that position because no one should
Yeah.
have to go through that.
The caretakers are the living saints
They really
unconditionally.
They really are. And so basically with going back to acting and stuff, like how did, your classical training influence your approach to acting and then any other creative pursuits that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I studied at LAMDA, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts in London. I studied Shakespeare. I've been reading Shakespeare since I was a kid. I have like a Shakespeare Bible. It's like my Bible. It's all of the Shakespeare plays. But just studying with the best, just getting in classes and studying my craft and knowing it's a craft, and that's first and foremost. But also traveling around the world and just like listening. Like acting. You're memorizing lines. You're doing plays, you're doing the craft of acting. And then I went to a DJ music school for a year, and I
Mhm.
loved it because everything was listening. And so once you're acting, like right now, we're a storytelling, like you're listening. And then when you're speaking, I'm listening. But a lot of times when people are doing auditions in the room with casting directors, or now they're on Zoom and self tapes, like the person listening, like, or when they don't have their line, they're a lot of times they're a deer in headlights because they're thinking about their next line, so they're not actually listening. So the little cues that are happening, what you aren't saying, that I can pick up on, it's because I'm actually listening. And so it's the tone and the energy of what's not being said, but the energy too. But the transmutation of energy. And so I think that makes a really great actor, not only knowing your lines and studying the craft, but being a great listener and to be really in the moment, and every take is different, so I think some of those things have really helped me with the craft of acting with my career thus
Mhm.
far, studying and always having coaches. So for every audition I have a coach who, coaches me on Skype or Zoom or on FaceTime. For me, everyone's different. Sometimes I get material and I can visually memorize it right away. If it's a lot of technical jargon for like neuroscientists, doctors, or something, it's like, huge words that we don't normally say every day. It takes a lot for me, in my own like neurodivergence to like, wrap my head. So it's like a muscle when you're practicing, you're doing it. That's why it's good to like be in workshop and classes and stuff because it really builds the muscle and you don't get all freaked out when you get an audition like, once a month or something. But, my mom has been my biggest advocate. Like I'll call her because for me, I'm very physical. I just need to get it out. Once I get
Yeah.
it out, then I'm like a sponge and I can sleep on it. Then I can write it out. And then I'll like call my mom and I'll read my lines back and forth the next day. And just to get it out of my system, like to
Mhm.
actually say the words with your lips and your tongue, I think is really important, So find what's good for you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just knowing thyself and sticking true to what works for you and not an idea of how someone else did it. Like someone can get inspiration for me. I got inspiration from Meryl Streep and Reese Witherspoon. And a lot of people, those were inspirations of directors, producers, Timothy Chalamet. And I love
Mhm.
all his movies.
Me
And Tim,
too.
oh, he's
He's the
amazing.
best.
His hairdresser started following me on Instagram like 10 weeks ago. Oh my God.
Really?
Yes, yes. She like goes by like Jamie Grooming or something. She's following me, I'm following her, and she does his hair. And people who do the hair are like the
Mhm.
closest because they're doing all like the talking, blah, 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 blah. So who knows if he even knows I exist by now.
Like,
But
if he knows you exist, I'm literally so jealous. Like, did you see the new Wonka movie he's in?
no, I was supposed to in New York. I had passes, but then I had to go to LA because I shot a TV show for Fox. So I was in LA. I missed it. Yeah.
I didn't see it yet. I've seen clips of it, but I've been dying to see it. Every time I talk to someone about it, like they went to see it, they say it's so good. I'm just like,
Okay.
I'm
I'm
not
going
even
to do
sure if
that.
it's still in theaters now.
I don't
In
think
my
so. We both need to see it and we'll talk about it next time. But A Rainy Day in New York, oh my God. It's so classic. Woody Allen's the director. See A Rainy Day in New York. It is so
Mm.
good.
Oh, I would see. Is it a show or a movie?
It's on Amazon.
Oh, I will check it
The
out.
film.
I'm
It's a
actually in
romantic
New York
comedy.
often, so anything that revolves New York or has New York in a name, I will watch it.
It's
So,
like all the classic things of New York. The Carlisle, Central Park, like and Selena Gomez is in it. So I love
oh,
her.
what? Really?
Yeah.
Now I need to watch it, man. I love
Yeah.
Selena Gomez, so now you got me
Me too.
hooked on that part. But to wrap this episode up, like how can people connect with you and check out all the amazing work you're doing?
Sure. She's All Over the Place podcast is streaming everywhere. We're in our sixth season right now. We have wonderful guests on, really impactful about health and wellness and the arts and entertainment with casting directors, producers, filmmakers, artists. But my last name is Chonacas.com, CHONACAS, CHONACAS.com. And on there, you can click to hear the podcast. You can click to hear music. You can see I'm streaming everywhere under my baptismal name. I was born with two first names, so it's Saint Kyriaki, Saint, and then Kyriaki. But I'm sure it'll all be in the show notes, right?
Yeah, you'll be showing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. So just Chinakas.com, my last name, and then yeah, those are all the things of how people can find me, and then I'm on all the social media handles.
Yeah, I'm awesome. Like we'll talk about more of your podcast in a part two. I actually having many questions about your podcast, so we'll make
Okay.
sure I include that in the part two, whatever that may be. But I really appreciate everyone listening. I'll make sure to put everything in the notes so you can check it out and check the amazing work in her podcast as well. She's interviewed amazing people. There's so many people, but I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time, and we'll definitely have to do a part two in the next couple of months.
Yeah, Kylie, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for the person tuning in. Our time and our attention is the number one most valuable thing. So being here to learn and share and, you know, like take notes and share this episode with one or two people and put it on social media is the best outreach you can do as independent podcaster. So
You
I
are so
appreciate.
correct. So make
Yeah.
sure everyone to share, subscribe, rate, whatever's on your podcast platform. There's every podcast platform is different that I cannot keep track of every podcast platform because didn't even check out all the podcast platforms, honestly. But thank you everyone for listening. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day. Make sure to share and keep this conversation going. But thank you so much, Katie, for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.